again, but I'm also Leah Gotti. I am a mom, content creator, and entrepreneur, and I'm from Texas, but I currently live in the Rocky Mountains. I've been in the industry since I was 18, and I'll be 27 this year. So my entire adult life has been adult work. I became a mom for the first time during my hiatus, because I started porn when I was 18, and when I was like 19, about to be 20, I kind of stepped back from the industry. In a year of just like being in Texas with my family, I ended up getting pregnant with my first daughter, who is now 6. And then I came back into the industry and just had another daughter who's about to be 2 years old. So I've had children during and after joining the industry. I've experienced a lot more than most people my age, and that's what I really value most about this job, is just getting to meet new people, learn about new cultures, learn about new kinks and fetishes, and just sexual well-being overall. I feel like it's made me a really good communicator and just, I don't know, more open to other ideas.
How do you find a harmonious balance between your work life and your family life?
I remain balanced by like avoiding strict schedules, like give myself flexibility with my content, ensuring that I can be present with my family first because that's my main priority. So I am really transparent with my fans because I run all of my accounts on my own. So I'm not going to be online 24/7. And so I'm very upfront with my fans so that they don't expect me to be like chatting 24/7, you know what I mean? So they know that my family is here and that's what most is important to me. And like, this is just like the icing on the cake.
Would you say that your schedule is pretty intense these days as far as your actual adult career? Would you say it would be similar to a full-time position at this point?
I think that my job requires more than what a typical full-time job would require. I'm in on social media, like remaining relevant, like commenting, liking, interacting, keeping the engagements up. That's like pretty much like an every hour thing. Like you just get on and kind of like update. Whenever I'm having to like travel for work, like for instance, this month has been extremely stressful. I've traveled 3 times, about to travel again. I've done 2 feature dances. And just for example, when I was in Philly, I left the club at 4 and I got at the airport at 6. I got on the plane, I got off the plane, went straight to my daughter's first triathlon, no sleep. You know what I mean? So like that, those things are important to me. I could have easily like just not gone, but I want to be there. So I'm going to push myself to make sure that I'm showing up for my job, but also showing up for my kids because I never want to be absent. That's what the beautiful thing about this job is, that it's so flexible, and like I am my own boss, so I can kind of say, well, this is how it's going to go. Like if you don't like it, bye. This is stressful. It's really hard to like keep firm boundaries. You have to practice them. Like sometimes I'll overload myself and I'll be like, fried brain, and then I'm like, okay, this is too much. I need to kind of like dial it back. I just need to take a couple days, not do anything online, and just lay here and like be with my fam, watch movies, do crafts. So sometimes it's a lot busier than other times because there's high months where you're like booked a lot, working and shooting a lot, and then sometimes you kind of like just have some downtime. So it is a give and take. It's not really like too stressful, but definitely is a lot more than a full-time job.
That is the beauty, is that you have full control over your own schedule, especially since you're handling deciding like which projects you're going to take on and not.
Yeah, I'm very selective to like where I'm putting myself these days. So like when beginning of my career before I had children, I was just like shoot, 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 shoot.
Yeah.
But I have to still have energy to be really loving and patient and compassionate towards just children in general. And if you're like like running on no sleep and you're super stressed out, you're going to be a little bit more grumpy and not the kind of parent that I want to be.
Yes. Oh my God, that is so true. How does your child's daily schedule impact your personal work schedule?
My child's schedule pretty much comes first, and then I just fit in throughout the day where I can work, whether that be like in the car, like while my husband's driving, I'll be on my phone, like responding to messages, like making posts and stuff like that. So really, it's like, so my daughter has to go to school 7 in the morning. She has to wake up. My husband's doing that because I'm staying with the baby, and we kind of just like go with the flow throughout the day. Like my husband's gonna go for a run and I might have to have like a Zoom call or a podcast or shoot some content. So he's gonna take the baby like to the park or to the library or do an activity like that. So that way I can buckle up and do what I need to do. And I have to do it pretty quickly as well. I'm so thankful for my husband because a lot of men, I feel like back in the day, like when I grew up, my grandpa like wouldn't really do much for my grandma. You know, my husband will cook, clean, do the laundry, fold the laundry, put away the laundry. Like he goes to all the school events with my daughter. Like I do too, but he's always there. He never wants to miss one. You know, we're really equal when it comes to how we do our house. So I think I lucked out with that because he's the most supportive husband I could literally dream of.
With the possible variance in income as a creator, how do you plan for the future?
That's a good question because at the beginning of my career, I was 18. I had no guidance and I didn't know anything about saving, taxes, like retirement, none of that. Actually, after I got married, my husband's dad kind of like helped me get myself put together. I have like IRA and I am just saving in general so I can have like if an emergency happens, if I can't work, you know, I have enough saves that way could like last me for a while. Like constantly trying to insert new lines of revenue into my life so that this isn't the only thing that I'm doing. You know, like I have been part of like creating some apps and like just doing like mainstream work and I got a certificate in yoga, like trauma sensitive yoga, and I want to continue to like build on those things because as I get older, I feel like I'm not really going to want to continue to, you know, I'm not going to always be hot. So I'm going to have something to kind of keep me going. And I would really love to just do wellness retreats and stuff. So I'm just constantly like thinking of new ways to generate wealth for my family and just be happy overall.
And it sounds like that those income streams aren't necessarily adult related. So that's good that you're mixing it up.
Like my OnlyFans is like constant. Then I'm shooting with mainstream companies like every so often, like maybe a couple times out of the year. I'm doing like brand deals like with companies and I'm making like custom videos like for companies to use as ads and stuff. Like all those things, they just add up and it gives me a lot of money, honestly, to just be comfortable, which is really important to me. I grew up poor, so I don't want my kids to ever feel like they want something. Like I want them to know that they can just get it. Like if they ask me if they're being good, like they're not doing bad things, I want to just be able to give them like so much. And that is so special to me.
Would you say then that your approach to planning for the future does it have to be a lot more strategic since there can be a variance in like what opportunities come your way throughout the year? Is there a lot of strategic planning on your end?
Definitely, there's a lot of strategic planning because I don't want to like ever be crunched, you know what I mean? Like ever feel pressed like I'm failing. So I'm constantly doing math in my head, calculating and like trying to maintain a certain amount per day, you know, like that I'm making per day. Sometimes I don't, you know, but I sometimes I make way more than what I would like to make a day. But for the most part, I'm just trying to think of what can I do that's going to help me invest in my business? Like who I'm shooting with, is this going to help my brand grow? Is this aligning with who I want to be in general? Do they value my time? Like if they do, they'll pay me for the hourly if we exceed over these hours, you know what I mean? Just picking who really respects me and who's going to give me what I believe I deserve whenever I'm shooting for somebody else. Also, I have to be strategic on where I'm spending my money because you have to invest in your business just like any other business. Like I can't just shoot content at home every day. That's going to get boring. Like sometimes I'm going to have to invest a couple $1,000. Like for instance, my calendar, $4,000 to produce it. So I'm going to make money off of my calendar once I release it, but I had to make sure like what I did is something that can be like marketed to my fans and they're going to really want to buy that or else it's just going to be a fail. So then I have to sit there and calculate, okay, what are my most requested images like to be dressed as? Like what do I think is trending right now? Sorry, my daughter has to come change her diaper because she shit.
It happens.
It happens. Strategically with trying to place myself where I need to be, how much money needs to go here, and what's going to yield the best results are constantly being played out in my head.
Especially having a family and having these responsibilities versus, you know, our single adult selves pre-children, like maybe you might not necessarily, you might just settle for, okay, this is how much this company wants to give you, versus actually knowing your worth, but also knowing those responsibilities that you need to handle at the end of the day and what it's going to take, you know, for it to be worth your time and energy.
Definitely does. I was talking about this recently to one of my friends because like she was asking me like what my rates are, and I told her my rates, and she's like, whoa, that's expensive. And I was like, no, it's really not. Like if you're there for 4 hours, yeah, charge them a basic rate. But if you're there past 4 hours, if you're having to do like brand shoots and their merch, that's just going to be like for extra ads on their site. Like all these things need to be calculated up. And I think, yeah, when I became a mother, I was like, my time is precious. I'm not about to go spend 12 hours on set for a couple $1,000s. Like they're going to need to pay me like how real actresses are getting paid per hour for being on set. Like I'm not going to be getting paid per video, especially if there's so many extra things that they're wanting me to do. So I'm like, now I'm like, no, I'm going to pass. Like if you don't have the budget to shoot me, then you don't have the budget to shoot me. I'll make that same content that you wanted me for on my page, and I'll make more money than what I would make shooting with them. Really, the only thing that mainstream is for now is the exposure. It's like remain relevant, to keep your name like in like the masses, to gain traffic to your personal pages, and that's going to start to generate more followers and more subs directly to you. And I think that when I was first in the industry, like I said, I was just shooting with anybody because I was like, whatever, just give me the checks. You know what I mean? And now it's like, no, actually, I don't want to be shot like that. I don't want to shoot like I'm a stepdaughter or any weird things. Like I'm going to be super like, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. And if you don't like it, then I don't like you. Like deuces. Like I just changed my attitude that way. And I really feel like it's made a big difference because now in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, I'm away from my kids. It needs to be profitable because the time that I have with my kids as littles is so small and so precious.
If you're pulling me away from my family, you know, is this going to be worth my time? In what instances have or would you ever open up about your profession with civilians in your community? Would you say that you're generally forthcoming or more reserved with this information?
So I usually keep details about my work to myself unless someone asks. Like in general, I volunteer at the school and I'm there, but people don't often ask me about my jobs. They're just talking to me about the kids. And I think they just value that me and my husband are so hands-on at the school that they don't really care. You know what I mean? Because we're not hurting anybody. We're just adding like positive things into our school community and like around kids like the park and stuff like that. Typically like moms at the park don't really talk to me, like they stay over there by themselves. But I feel like if anyone were to ask me, I would be honest and I'd be open to answering any questions that they might have about that, and just reiterating the fact that that doesn't make me less of a good mother or someone who can't be involved in the community. You know, I've seen online that some people have like been kicked out of the PTO boards due to having an OnlyFans, and that really broke my heart, like hearing about that, because it's just like, damn, that sucks. Like if that were to happen to me, I really don't know how I would respond to that. That would feel so icky because I know deep down inside that I'm probably one of the best hands-on mothers in the world. Like I try to be very understanding and open and respectful to my daughter. I'm not like someone who's like, like sending their kids to school and like the same things and like doesn't care about helping their kids feel good about themselves. Like I just feel like, yeah, nobody really asked, but if they did ask, I would explain to them what I do and also reiterate, like, I am a good mom. And like, if you have questions, just ask. It is a good approach to be completely honest, because the last thing that you'd like to do is like just lie. I have done that before. Like I used to feel like less than like other people. I used to be like ashamed of saying like what I've done, but then I had gone through lots of therapy and I've done a lot of work within myself to realize that if anyone has an issue with what I'm doing, that's just on them, because everyone in the world is having sex as adults, you know? Everyone is having multiple partners and all types of things. And for someone to get mad because you're making a profit off of that, or you're giving people pleasure from your pleasure, it just honestly, it's just probably things that they had learned growing up, because we used to think things were taboo. Even I did. That's why I was ashamed of it. I was like, oh, this is a taboo job. Like, no one's going to think I'm worthy enough of being a mother and all of these things. But I see and I know people are constantly telling me like how good of a mom I am, and I see how happy my children are. So that's more than enough to me. So if some Sally Q doesn't like what I do, well, that's just too bad.
Are your followers aware that you are a parent?
My followers are well aware of my family, and they generally like respect me, and I established the boundaries like from the beginning when they're meeting me. And the reason why I chose to do that is because when I first hopped onto my OnlyFans, people were aware that I had a daughter. But I feel like since I wasn't explaining like how my life was, they were expecting me to be there 24/7. People were getting frustrated because if they ordered a custom today, they want it today. They're not understanding, why is it going to take you this long? Like, and so just being honest and being like, look, my customs will be shot. If you bought them, I'm going to shoot them. It might take me a couple months or it might take me a couple days. You never know. But like, I'm always going to be forthcoming with, oh, I might be feeling a little down this week. It's just too much. My schedule is not balanced enough for me to do these videos. Like, gonna have to push it, you know. And most of the time they love that. Like they respect that so much more, and they start to ask me questions that aren't pertaining to sex. Like, we have more conversations about like just life and our values and like things that we enjoy doing, and like if they have kids, and then we can kind of bond on that and like talk about like, what did you do today, you know? Like, if it's their kid's birthday, I might be like, oh, you know, you should go here, like give them some recommendations, and just has like a more deeper and honest relationship with my fans, because they know that I'm not going to ever go be with them. Like, I tell them that I don't sex with them, I don't accept pictures of their private parts, you know what I mean? But I will allow them to request customs for me, Skype calls for me, and custom videos, you know, just to make it more personable to them. But there's always going to be that, I am a married woman, I have kids, like, I'm not going to be your girlfriend, you're never going to have sex with me, but I would love to be your friend, and I would love to send you sexy things and help you feel good in other ways. And for the most part, it's been amazing.
You being open about being a parent, it's almost like it broke that fifth wall with your fans, because I think by actually being real about real life things with your fans, then you're tapping into them in a deeper way.
I always try to tell girls that are just getting into the industry, like, creating your brand with who you truly are, like aligning it to who you truly are, is way better for you mentally, because after a while of turning this switch on to be a character, you're going to be burnt out. You're going to be feeling like yourself, your personal self is going to start to feel like icky. I know when I first got into the industry when I was 18, I completely erased Reagan. Now I go by Reagan on my Instagram, but also have Leah, you know what I mean? And the reason I did that was because whenever I would switch and I would, like, I was 18, I wouldn't even tell people in personal interactions like my name was Reagan. I'd be like, oh, I'm Leah Gotti, blah, blah, blah. You know, completely forgetting her, completely forgetting my values that I had, who I am. And I just want to say things that are going to make me seem like the horny, popular girl so people fall in love with me.
Yeah.
But that gets so tiring after a while. It's like, I'm not really that. Like, I don't like people talking to me like this. I don't really want someone thinking that I want to be like swooped off the fucking street and fucked or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's kind of dangerous. It's kind of scary. The more you
Yeah.
mature, it's like, okay, I really need to start like dialing this back to who I truly am, so no one gets some crazy idea and thinks that I'm going to be in love with it if they like do it.
What advice do you have for civilian parents about protecting their kids online? Are there any actions that you yourself have implemented within your own household?
I believe that children shouldn't have unrestricted access, like online, like any online gaming platforms that has chat in it, any like free range of like YouTube, because things get really weird. I've even seen um like children's videos, like with the characters of like Peppa Pigs and like Spider-Mans and stuff like that, like a cartoons on YouTube of them doing bad things, you know. But if you were just walking past your kid, you would think, oh, no big deal, they're just watching Peppa Pig or Spider-Man, you know what I mean? So once I started seeing that, like I immediately was like, okay, then we have to be a lot stricter, because they were getting those videos into there because they're kind of like, I don't know how, but it's filtering through whatever thing they have and it's not getting flagged. So I took away iPads and now I just use a kid's Kindle Fire. And I have it to where my kids have to request what they want, and then it comes to my phone and I can kind of like do a preview of it and then I can approve it. That way I'm kind of like putting a buffer, because I have family members who allow their kids to do lots of things like Roblox and watch adult gamers like on YouTube, and I'm in the things that they're saying, I'm like, this is not appropriate, and they're saying things that they shouldn't be saying. Chatting is absolutely off limits for my kids as well, like, you know, like that's dangerous, that's very dangerous.
Yes.
It will
Yeah.
remain that way until they're like into their late teens. Like it would have to be like a serious conversation. Like Snapchat and all those things are extremely dangerous because predators know how to like find them. If you have your ghost on a map, my sister, I'm like, oh, you need to turn this off. You can like zoom in and you can see the exact house that they're at. Like, I'm like, what is this, Google Maps? We have to do everything in our power to keep ourselves updated on like what's going on in technology. I feel like when we were kids, we were smarter than our parents. That's why we were able to do more on the internet, and like we could erase our browser history and like all of these things. But I'm so much more ahead of my daughter, and I'm going to continue to be ahead of my daughters on the interwebs because I'm on them.
Definitely an advantage then, since you are actually, which I think is the big disconnect for a lot of parents, is they're not, like maybe they're on Facebook or something like that, but they're not utilizing all of these different social platforms. So
Exactly. They're not really kind of paying attention to what's trending. I was at a barbecue and a young boy was talking to his friends, and he was like, yeah, the TikTok girls. And they're like not even 13. And I'm like, the TikTok girls. And then I started do hashtag TikTok girls, and it's like a whole bunch of e-girls and like girls like dancing in thongs and all kinds of crazy stuff. And like, you know,
really,
like a sex worker can't do that kind of stuff on TikTok. We will get banned. But there are normal like civilian girls who aren't really like trying to be that popular, who are making these videos. Like if you go on TikTok live, you might even see people with cucumbers now, and they're
oh,
just holding the cucumber and they're doing that to make the people think that they're going to suck the cucumber.
do you think that this is, like what they're seeing online because they have this unfettered access to social media? I mean, do you think that they're just copying what they're seeing and thinking, okay, this is what everyone does?
Those are all learned behaviors. You
Yeah.
know, I know whenever I was a kid, I was extremely curious and I would just try and learn as much things about all things as possible. So I feel like that's just how we are naturally as humans. We all just want to know more and more and more and more. But if you're just giving your kid all that access to just absorb and learn about whatever, it can kind of be a little dicey if they don't really know. If those parents would have like started communicating about these things, maybe it wouldn't be that way. You know, like you'd have to give them the tools to protect themselves, because if they want to do it, they're going to do it, right? The uncomfortable conversations ultimately are going to bring the most amount of growth and trust within the relationship with your kid and your whole family.
What are your thoughts around the influx of ID verification laws that have been introduced within recent times? Do you feel that this is an effective solution to protect minors from exposure to adult content?
I believe the rule is moving in the right direction. However, I wish like they wouldn't include propaganda like with warnings. I believe it's risky to like decimate like false information to the public. I would much rather it be like, yeah, we're gonna verify your age because you do need to be older to watch this, but just leave out all the other stuff that they're trying to add in. Like I've seen people saying like about the body dysmorphia, and all these things are very true, but that would be like the same warning that would need to be put on social media if that were the case. You know, I think that it is important and that kids shouldn't be getting access to porn at any age below 18. I think that it's dangerous because if somebody watches a video for the first time and it's like intense, right? and they go to have sex with their girlfriend or something, and this is how they think that they need to do it. You know what I mean? And they start doing these things, and it completely like maybe hurts the person that they're doing it with, scares the person that they're doing it with. Someone might feel like they've been, or whatever the case may be. I just feel like sex and stuff, like as a young person, it should be being explored in different ways and being taught slowly. And I think that porn is just too aggressive and too broad for minors to be consuming. Their brain is just not ready to handle that. Honestly, when you're 18, you're barely even mature enough to know anything. Like, I can vouch for that myself. I'm a completely different person than when I was 18.
Right.
So I think it's important to do the age verification. I know a lot of people don't like it, but honestly, it is for the better. I do believe that.
Interesting, because okay, real talk with our industry, are all of these new proposals for age verification, are they necessarily wrong if the propaganda and the political aspects were not coming into play?
We have to, as a community, realize that we're constantly being told like that we're the reason why people are being abused, like we're the reason why people are being trafficked and people are being and beaten and all these things, because they're saying that it's because of our videos, right? So if we add these age verifications and it's only adults who are watching it, then it's not our fault. You know what I mean? It's that adult who chose to do these things to someone, who chose to make unconsensual acts towards somebody. I think that if we were all together and agreeing that, oh, only people who are 18 should be watching our things, then there is no issue. There shouldn't be an issue. It is an encrypted thing. They say like your information isn't going to be sold. Like, it's just to be sure you're old enough to be here. And you can't just type in a birthday, because anybody can do basic math and say, oh, I was born in 1996. I'm old enough. If we
Right.
actually do the ID verifications like we do on OnlyFans and stuff like that, when we, the performers, are creating, then our consumers can do the same thing.
The hesitation also is like, oh, possible opening it up to possible identity theft or leaks, but then again, adult performers, they are trusting these platforms to
Keep our information
share
safe.
their information. Yeah, yeah.
And that goes with the same thing for anything. Whenever somebody's creating a Facebook profile and they want to verify their Instagram or their Meta account, they have to put their ID in. If you're a creator, our social security numbers and all types of stuff are on all these apps that we're making money off of. All the things that are being brought up, I just feel like are just to add fuel to we can never, us as a sex work community, never seem like they want to agree with what the government wants for us. But sometimes it's for the better, regardless of if you're afraid that your fans are not going to want to put their ID in, they will. Like they will eventually. You know what I mean? Like, no one's gonna not everyone in the world is gonna stop watching porn because they have to put their ID in.
Expectation versus reality. What's one truth about parenthood that you would tell your pre-parent self?
You learn from your kids more than they learn from you. I feel like my daughters teach me more than I ever thought would be. Like, I just thought that it would always be like a me here learning from me. But honestly, when you're watching a child discover things, like you're learning how to read their micro expressions, like when they're not able to talk, I just feel like it makes you more like intuitive with people's emotions in general. Like, I know, like, if my daughter would feel like this was too mean of an approach, then I shouldn't speak it to anyone else. Like, learning how to just be gentler, calm, and patient, and truly selfless. That's what my kids have taught me. Like, I feel like as a child and into my early teens, it was very much like me, 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 me. Like, I don't give a fuck if I run this stop sign because I don't want to wait, like, type of energy. But now, like, I'll let the people cross the road. I might notion someone else to come, like little things that I think that I just learned from being a parent that gave me the eyes to see the value in just being a kind and compassionate and soft woman.